my dears, if I whisper. I know these seem like trivial affairs, but everybody up here has a story and feels the world is languishing for theirs. Why should an alcoholic schizophrenic presume to have the talent that's required? These folks are very literary people, but do leave certain things to be desired. Cause manic depressives don't do rewrites, that's a fact. Paranoids trying to write.
Levez, chérie. Faut ton écraser, monsieur, sauve-les là. Sauve-les. En 20 de j'aime dans dormir. Sans faux. Dans me connaît. Mettez-moi au courant. Oh, rete. Quand yon femme a levé comme ça pour faire même chasteté avec comme ça, pour faire coller avec comme ça. Tout ça m'a essayé fait, c'est pour demander qui j'en levé. Comment nous y matin. Oh, rete. M'a quitté aller. Rete. Chérie, pas quitter. Maman Dieu existe, maman Dieu pardon. Pour répondre à la question, je ne sais pas quand ça arrive depuis 3 mois. 3 mois. C'est même sentiment mon sentiment pour 3 mois. Et puis, beaucoup jamais dis-moi ça qui passe. Oh, chérie. So, gagne. Pour parler la vérité, monsieur, je ne sais pas connaître. Moi, bien dérangé. Je ne peux pas parler, je ne peux pas penser, je ne peux pas faire rien, ni laver, ni passer, ni nettoyer, ni chercher petit mon yo, léo, laguer, na l'école là. Je ne peux pas faire ça pour faire. Oh, chérie, est-ce que bien en tête? Je ne peux pas connaître, monsieur. Je ne peux pas connaître. Okay. My goodness. I don't even know where to start with this episode. It's this is too much. Fuck it. Okay. Breathe. More breathe. It's okay. You're gonna be all right. This is mental health. Let's talk about it. Mental health. Oh, goodness gracious. It almost seems like it just came out of nowhere, despite the fact it's been around forever. But mental health is defined as a person's condition with regard to their psychological, social, or social, and emotional well-being. It affects how we act, feel, and think. And it can range from the quote-unquote small things, such as panic attacks / anxiety attacks due to too much stress, to the extreme or long-lasting illnesses of depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress disorder, or as they call it PTSD, and autism, just to name a few, because, there's a whole lot more, way more. And, it's very interesting because a lot of people think that mental health is something new. Like it just came out in the last 5 to 10 years. Especially with YouTube, you be seeing everybody coming out talking about, I've been dealing with anxiety and depression for however long. I've been dealing with this, I've been dealing with that, which is wonderful, but it's like, it's been around forever. It really has. And to be honest, it's been here for longer than most of us have been alive. Let's be real. But for me, let me clarify something. There is a difference between mental illness and mental disorders. Mental illness, for me, in my opinion, I associate them with anxiety, depression, anorexia, bulimia, etc., mostly because these illnesses are usually caused by environment, social and or cultural experiences / events, And they can get better over time, with care, therapy, support, love, and a willingness to get better. Oh yes, you have to put in the work, or do your work. Yes, you do. And mental disorders, for me personally, I associate them with Down syndrome, autism, schizophrenia to some extent, mostly because these disorders, they are, in some cases, or in most cases, genetic, and usually can stick with you for the rest of your life. It's very, very, very sad, but people are pulling through it, and to some extent, you can have somewhat of a functional life even with a mental disorder. Trust me, I've seen it done. However, the two main mental illnesses that most people are familiar with and or have encountered at some point in their life are depression and anxiety. Now, although these two are the most known mental illnesses, majority of people, they don't know much about it. Or pretty much they don't understand either entirely. Probably only the bare minimum, or the surface, really. I mean, yes, that includes yours truly. I don't know much about it either. Let's be all the way real about it, all right? Now, from what my brother tells me, since he suffered from depression and anxiety for years, then and now, is that depression is somewhat, episodic. It comes in stages, or really, you can really call it sporadic if you want to use a blanket term. But it can be situational, like when someone tells you something you don't want to hear, like a specific truth about yourself, and you don't want to exactly hear it, so you become depressed. Or in my case, where I didn't exactly know where my life was going at a time, and I spent 8 months being unemployed and in weird clothes and just feeling all kinds of weird and wrong. So I was in a quote-unquote mini depression. But then again, depression, it means different things to everybody. It really does. For some people, they say they're depressed, but they're sad. Some people say they're depressed when they're melancholy. I don't know. I wouldn't exactly be using the depression term loosely. I wouldn't use that loosely in any term, because Lord knows that thing is serious, and that thing can kill. Trust. May Robin Williams rest in peace. Granted, it was Parkinson's disease, but somewhat along the same principle. It really is interesting. The most happiest people in the world, deep down inside, are just struggling with their own internal demons. And with that being said, may Sister Phyllis Hyman rest in peace as well. And then there's also seasonal depressions, like, when it's winter and you have to take shelter in a place where you don't want to be, or with someone you cannot stand and you don't exactly have the money or the means to go anywhere else. And you want an example of that? You can go online and look. Trust me, there have been all kinds of stories about quarantine-related incidents, depressions, and of course, abuse. Yeah, it's really dark in there. And then there is chronic/manic depression, which is classified by periods of depression and periods of a abnormally elevated mood that can last for days to weeks. And for some interesting reason, it's now called bipolar disorder. I swear, it's just like the LGBT community, child. Always a new name for everything. And that's not even a joke. Trust me, there's always much more to be discovered in the mental health world. But we'll get on that in a second. And yes, bipolar. Being bipolar, yes, mood swings are included. But for my brother, luckily and thankfully, they're not as big as they were before. At least not anymore. Anxiety, however, though it is a lot more quote-unquote common and a quote-unquote part of life, for certain people it can develop into something dangerous, debilitating, and in more instances, crippling, from preventing you from doing certain things, or even just normal things such as getting up, going out, going to work, and actually interacting with folks, to the more extremes, like having panic attacks out of nowhere due to the overwhelming fear created by anxiety. Now, anxiety, it can also cause you to feel like you're in Wonderland, going mad and not sure where the hell reality is, and you're just wondering, Is this a sweet dream? Is this a beautiful nightmare? Or is it deja vu? We don't exactly know. And not to mention, it could also lead to all kinds of paranoia, hallucinations, figments of your imagination, hearing your own thoughts out loud, or hearing different voices. Is anxiety a precursor to schizophrenia? I don't know. That's for the psychologists and the goddamn theologians and the goddamn psychiatric therapists and therapists in general to kind of, decipher after them. But, like anything, drugs are always involved. And interestingly enough, drugs have also been known to be a catalyst to making these and also other mental illnesses appear and also become worse. It is truly an interesting wonderland we live in. But with all this research, studies, experiments, and written theses on mental health, there's still so much more we don't know about. What do we call people with mental illnesses anyways? Crazy, insane, nuts, loco, psycho, disturbed, quote unquote touch, as somebody's grandmama in the South would call it. But to be honest, I don't know. I don't have a word for that. Granted, I use the word crazy all the time, but I don't know. I'm a different kind. Anyways, and with all that foolishness, that all leads to stigma, which is definitely found a lot with my people. The Black community, which, oh yeah, Black folks in mental health, it's like sexuality. We don't talk about it. Why? So many reasons, child, so many reasons. Number one, it's all a matter of reputation and image. Like, who wants to be labeled crazy? Who wants to be labeled insane? And also, think about what other people would think. Number two, Black children, they just like to, simplify everything and just be like, oh, you're just overthinking it. You're just blowing it out of proportion. You know you're crazy. You know that? I swear to you, Black people love to make fun of or judge anything they do not know or cannot wrap their minds around. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have to do a separate thing on that on its own. And number three, even when you would actually have these feelings of, I'm not sure what's going on with my mind, or I feel like this is a little bit deeper, when you would try to tell your parents, they would either slap you, beat you, punish you, or just pretty much tell you that you over here, you're doing theatrics. You're doing theatrics right now, all right? And you know what? We're never going to talk about this again. Then it just grows and festers and becomes something way worse, all because they thought you were over here putting on a show. And all this despite the fact that Black people have more ties and more experience with mental illness than anybody, due to, the nature of, being Black in America, or actually, let's be all the way real about it, being Black anywhere in the world, since, it's, oh my God. But speaking of all this mental health, so to speak, especially with everybody nowadays wanting, quote unquote, to talk about it, me, myself, and I, in regards to mental health, the only thing I do that would be considered, quote unquote, concerning by psychologists, psychiatric therapists, or therapists in general is, I talk to myself a lot. Okay? Religiously, inside my house, outside my house, in public, anywhere. Please, I've been asked several times throughout high school and now, if I was talking to myself any other time, I would say yes, because, I have nothing to hide. And besides, I like to be honest. But, I like to call it my quality of functional insanity, which it describes something you do that to everyone else is crazy, insane, and probably would merit a trip to the mental institution, but to you, it's something you need to function, survive, and live in this crazy, fucked up world. And speaking of, you know what people are not gonna do? Actually, no, let's be all the way real about it. You know what white men are not gonna do? Specifically white men in Congress or in conservative media platforms. What y'all not gonna do is use mental illness to justify themselves or one another shooting up every single place they decide to walk up into, from a movie theater to a casino to a warehouse and to the many schools of America. I had to get that one out, but white privilege, it's just, I swear, it's a part of every facet of American life, or pretty much life in general. But, with all that said, and Lord knows I know I've only barely scratched the surface, but mental health is just like your heart, eyes, legs, and overall physical body. It is very important and vital, and it needs to be taken care of. Okay? Like, I'm gonna make a little remix on an old saying. Sticks and stones can break your bones, yes. But words can stick with you forever and possibly end your very existence. And that's not even to be funny. I mean, trust me, you'll be amazed what a certain word can put you, what kind of mindset it can put you in. Then next thing you know, alcoholism follows, and then liver failure, and then boom, you're dead. I mean, not necessarily in that order, but it is that simple to some extent. But in a way, it's like a roller coaster. Some illnesses spin you around, some make you go up and down, and some make your heart almost jump out of your chest. But all of them, at some point or after a while, they just make you want to vomit your life out. But at the end of the day, it is your choice. Not whatever mental illness you get. God, no, that's not a choice. That's just, it kind of depends on who you are, so to speak. But, yeah, it is more so a choice whether you want to stay in the mental illness theme park and risk going out Final Destination style. I wouldn't say with your blood spilling out, but more likely pretty much either underground or hanging up by a noose, or pretty much hanging up by your Sam John. Autoerotic asphyxiation is really something. But you can either do that, or you can get your stuff, pack up, go home, and try to settle things and get help. If you are feeling anything wrong with your mental capacity in any kind of way, from your moods to how you interact, with yourself, to the very thoughts you seem to conjure up and think on a daily basis, don't wait. Don't waste no time. Go search for somebody to talk to. You'll be amazed what that can do. Don't waste any time. Your mental health is like your physical health. Both of them are somewhat the same, but one can always heal. The other, that can last and that can end you far than the other one ever could.